Throughout history, wealth has never existed in isolation. Behind every empire, every fortune, and every dynasty, there were invisible hands, secret networks of influence that shaped the course of nations. These elite networks were never written about in official history books. Instead, their actions were whispered in private salons, in smoke-filled rooms, in the corridors of power where decisions were made behind closed doors. In the 19th century, as industrial empires rose, wealthy families and financial elites began to form hidden alliances. They understood that controlling resources meant controlling nations. From London to New York, from Paris to Berlin, secret circles of businessmen, politicians, and aristocrats gathered. Their goal was not just profit, it was power, the ability to shape governments and global trade. And thus, the foundations of elite networks were laid. Alliances that would survive wars, revolutions, and the rise and fall of nations. To understand modern wealth, we must first uncover these hidden beginnings. As the 20th century approached, money began to flow across borders faster than ever before. Banking families and industrial magnates realized that their wealth could be multiplied if they worked together, not as rivals, but as allies. Private meetings took place in luxury hotels, hunting lodges, and country estates. Deals were made not in parliaments, but in whispers over dinner tables. These gatherings created informal alliances that would quietly shape world affairs. The migration of wealth was not only about money, it was about influence. As millions of immigrants crossed the Atlantic in search of a better life, elite families sent their fortunes abroad, investing in railroads, oil fields, and banks. These networks ensured that crises would not destroy them. Even when empires fell or markets collapsed, the elite could move their wealth, preserve their influence, and re-emerge stronger than before. By the early 1900s, the hidden hand of elite networks was not just a whisper. It was a force shaping entire economies. To understand their power, we must follow the money and the meetings where it all began. The world entered the 20th century, wars and revolutions threatened nations. But for the elite networks, conflict was not always a disaster. It was an opportunity. Financing both sides of a war could be more profitable than peace itself. Global markets became the new battlefield. Stocks, bonds, and oil shares were the weapons. Elite families and hidden alliances positioned themselves as the invisible generals of the economic war. Energy was the key. Whoever controlled oil controlled the future. From the deserts of the Middle East to the oil fields of Texas, hidden hands ensured that profits always flowed back to the networks. But their influence was not only economic. Through donations, lobbying, and ownership of newspapers, elite networks shaped public opinion, convincing nations to fight wars and pass laws that benefited them. By mid-century, the hidden hand had tightened its grip. Economies, politics, and even wars were no longer separate from elite networks. They were instruments of their strategy. By the mid-20th century, wealth alone was no longer enough. To maintain power, the elite networks needed something more: control over perception. They understood that whoever shapes public opinion shapes reality. Newspapers became more than just sources of news. They were tools of influence. Many of the world's most powerful families quietly owned shares in media empires, deciding what stories people would hear and what would remain hidden. Radio and later television extended this power even further. A single broadcast could inspire patriotism, spread fear, or shape elections. The hidden hand was no longer just behind the scenes. It was in people's living rooms. But influence was not only about spreading information, it was also about silencing it. Investigative journalists, whistleblowers, and critics often found themselves censored, discredited, or quietly removed from the stage. In this way, the elite networks did not simply control markets or politics. They controlled the narrative itself. And by controlling the story, they controlled how the world understood itself. By the late 20th century, Power was no longer hidden only in boardrooms or secret meetings. It began to wear a mask, the mask of philanthropy. The wealthiest families discovered a new way to shape society while appearing as saviors. Foundations were created in the names of these families. On the surface, they provided scholarships, built hospitals, and funded research. But behind the scenes, they directed which sciences advanced, which ideas spread, and which leaders rose. Philanthropy became the perfect disguise. It allowed the elite to shape the future of education, medicine, and even technology, all while being praised as heroes. But not all saw this as generosity. Some called it soft power, influence that seemed benevolent, but was just as strategic as any empire or army. In this way, the mask of philanthropy both protected and expanded their influence. The hidden hand was no longer feared, it was admired. Today, the hidden hand no longer looks like smoke-filled rooms or shadowy gatherings. It looks like global institutions, multinational corporations, and digital empires. The rise of technology has given these networks even greater tools. Data has become the new currency, and those who control information control the future. Philanthropy still plays its role, but now influence is spread through global conferences, think tanks, and digital platforms. The elite no longer need to hide. Their presence is felt everywhere, even in the devices we carry in our pockets. But the question remains, is this influence a force for progress or control? Is it guidance or manipulation? That is for us to decide. The hidden hand has shaped the past and guides the present. But the future is still unwritten. If you want to uncover more hidden stories of wealth and power, don't forget to subscribe.